Hello everyone, and welcome to Destin Business Forum, a television show for the members of the Destin Chamber of Commerce, brought to you by our good friends at Cox Communications. And we've got a great show, so we hope that you'll sit back and enjoy what we have for you. Our first guest today is U.S. Air Force retired Chief Master Sergeant Brooke McLean from the Air Force Enlisted Village. Brooke, good to see you.
Shane, thank you very much for the opportunity to come on. It's a pleasure to be here, and we look forward to maybe pass on a little bit of about what we're doing out there.
Well, we've got some good notes here, and I know you know how to talk about the Air Force Enlisted Village, so this should be full of good information for the folks watching. Celebrating 50th anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Golden anniversary. It's been a remarkable 50 years for us. We started in the late 1960s, originally incorporated in Washington, D.C., and our organization looked across the United States and wanted to find the best place to put a military-related senior living community. And Fort Walton Beach was it, by a long shot. With Hurlburt and Eglin and all the affiliation in this area, this was our place of choice. So we bought our first property in 1974, Teresa Village, and then later developed the acreage that we now have that's Bob Hope Village, where we have independent living and assisted living. So it's been a remarkable 50 years, and we look forward to a whole bunch more.
Now, you mentioned the Bob Hope Village, and I get the question a lot of times, did Bob Hope really have something to do with it? Can you explain a little bit how Bob Hope's name got tied to the village?
Well, it was very fortunate for us. There was a gentleman by the name of Colonel Bob Gates, who had been one of his USO pilots when Mr. Hope was doing his tours. And along the way, they became great friends, and Colonel Gates was the wing commander at Hurlburt at one point, and Mr. Hope came into town, and Colonel Gates says, "Hey, you really have to check out this place. I think you're going to love it." So he checked it out, and he did, and he would come back throughout the 80s and 90s, and about every 2 years, he would bring basically a USO tour into town with typically stars of the day like Phyllis Diller and Reba McEntire and Miss America, and it was just phenomenal. So we've had such a great relationship with his family over the years, and just to be able to have that represent what it is that we do.
So he used it really just as part of his tour that he was doing, and you know, I remember seeing him on television a lot doing those things, and so I think it's really cool that we've got something in this community that reflects that.
It is. I think it's neat too. I have talked with people about, of course, the younger generation. They may not know who Bob Hope is, and so I explained to them that he's really kind of like the father of the USO, and for a generation of people, he represents civilian supporting military. And so for us, that's a very special relationship to have that association.
Yeah, and I think that's a great description of him, father of the USO. I mean, that's really good. Now, he's not the only important person or famous person that's been involved in this. Talk about the other people who helped get this started and have played important roles through the years.
Well, I'm actually the fourth CEO that we've had out of all that time.
Right.
So our first CEO was a gentleman named Nick Masson, and then we had Loyal Weaver, and then the gentleman that I took over for was retired Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Jim Binnicker. And he was with us for 15 years and just really provided phenomenal leadership to us, and brought to us one of our favorite things, which is the mom rule. And the mom rule is, would you ask yourself these questions before you interact with a resident? Would you do it to your mom? Would you do it for your mom? And would your mom approve? So typically, if you answer those three questions, you're in pretty good standing. So we absolutely love that, and it goes to the core mission of what we feel we're supposed to be doing, which is taking care of moms.
And that was going to be my next question, because you mentioned assisted living, you mentioned retired Air Force, those guys. Talk about how people come to you and become residents there.
Sure. Well, we have 350 independent living units out there, and as the name implies, independent living is living on your own, cooking your own meals, driving your own car. And then we have 66 assisted living assisted living units in the Hawthorne House. And 18 of those are set up for memory care, memory support for Alzheimer's and dementia. So typically people will move into the Hawthorne House when their life gets more complicated, and they would prefer to have someone that's around them 24 hours and maybe helping with meals and medication management. So we offer both of those, and people will typically come to us A lot of them is word of mouth. A lot of it is through the Air Force affiliation. They hear what it is that we do, and they come down. And our primary group that we take care of, #1 priority, is the widow of a retired Air Force enlisted member. So we have a great group of people that are out there, primarily widows. About 80 couples are living out there with us right now.
Okay.
So, and of course that changes almost day to day.
Is the rumor true that there's some really wild and crazy parties that go on out there?
You'd have to ask them that question.
Okay. I guess that's a relative thought there, right? Volunteers. Opportunity for people to come and volunteer and help you guys out. I know that is a huge need.
It is, and that's back to the earlier comment about why we chose this area. Having the military bases and then having the support of the local community is just vital for us, and it's financially there's support that's there. We get donations that come in from a number of different organizations, but people that come out and help us volunteer either help the residents individually, or they'll come out and they can do things like Easter supper that we're getting ready to serve, or other type of events. So there's a great number of things that people can do out there.
Future projects. What you got on the docket for future projects?
Well, we're really excited. We just voted as the board of directors to expand and to build 63 more independent living units out there, and that really goes to getting in front of what we see as the growing need for senior living communities in general, but to help strengthen our Air Force ties here as well. The baby boomers are coming. You know, they jokingly call them the silver tsunami. so they are on the way, and our nation's going to have a large demographic shift with age in the near future. So.
And every business out there is dealing with that right now.
It certainly is.
They are. Well, we appreciate the relationship that's built between the village and the community.
Yes.
The community wouldn't be what it is without the village, but the village wouldn't be what it is without this community and the military support. We've got about 45 seconds left. Anything you want to add? You want to give people your contact information? I know RJ's going to throw that on the screen.
Right. Well, our website, www.afev.us, phone number 850-651-3766. I had to concentrate on that for a second. But to answer your question about the message to the community, is just say thank you. We could not do it without the support of all the communities around here, and you know we're blessed to be in a place that people save all year long to come on vacation, and we get to do it each and every day. So it's an amazing place, and we're very fortunate to be here.
Well, you're thanking the community, and really the community should be thanking you, taking care of the people who have fought over years and years and years so that we have the freedoms in this country to do what we do. You do great work. We appreciate it, and Chief, thank you for being with us today.
All right, thanks, Shane.
Stay tuned as we'll be right back with our next guest.